Here's my review of Thanksgiving. This is a very fun horror movie where the premise is kind of silly, but I thought it was executed in a very well done way where even though it kind of sounds silly like a killer pilgrim, I mean everything kind of lines up and everything kind of makes sense. Where what happens is there is a Black Friday, at this store, and there are these huge riots. And several people are like killed in these riots, and I think what is really done really well is you see like these security guards just get tackled is like this almost feels like so realistic in a way. Like you think about how this could happen. You think about all these angry mobs at these Black Fridays, and like this probably could happen. That's kind of what makes this part very scary. And right off the bat, you kind of understand the killer's motivation, saying like, "Hey, somebody who I knew was killed, and the reason why he's particularly mad at our main characters is that they actually broke in. They basically broke in early, and then it caused a big riot, which kind of took all these lives, and it makes sense. So you right at the bat, you know the killer's motivation, and it could narrow it down, and you can kind of maybe figure out who it's going to be very early on, but I'm not going to get to that right now. And I mean, I just this shot though of just all of these people just flooding into this Right Mart store, it's just kind of horrifying because like in the movie you see it's from the perspective of like some of the people getting early, and just you see all these people just bash at the doors, just screaming, yelling, and it's just really horrifying to think like of almost the real terror of like an angry mob, what could happen. And I think that's what kind of made this part so good, is it felt very real. And although this movie is kind of relatively like nothing like supernatural in terms of horror, just kind of a basic slasher, like this part kind of feels like it really could happen. Because Black Fridays can go seriously wrong sometimes. And I will say, like, our main characters, they're not really particularly interesting. And the reason, like, that kind of kicks all this off is they were some of the people who were able to get in early, and that's what kind of caused the whole angry mob, leading to the deaths of people. And that's why this killer is mad, and then they get all tagged in, like, an Instagram account. And like I said, like, there's nothing wrong. Like, there's nothing wrong with these characters. They're enjoyable to watch, but, like, nothing stands out. Like, I didn't really even remember their names when I walked out of the theater. But they're fine. I mean, they're serve their purpose, and it makes sense. And so, yeah, like, the killer tags all of them because they are basically the cause of deaths and this whole mob. And it kind of all makes sense. And then kind of throughout the course of this movie, it's both a kind of, I would say, like a mystery movie, while also being like a horror and slasher, which I think was really well done. And for the mystery part, or not necessarily, I guess the mystery for the audience, but you see from the perspective of like the John Carver killer, of this pilgrim killer, like where he's looking at all of these newspapers and seeing everything of who could be responsible for these deaths. And I'm just going to go ahead and spoil it right away because it's going to be kind of hard to talk about without going into major spoilers. I'm going to spoil this right away. The killer is the sheriff, and his motivation is basically like this woman who he was having an affair with died because of the riots, because of these kids who broke in early, which caused the riots. So that's his personal vendetta against them. And I feel like you could probably figure that out pretty early. And it's not like treated as some huge reveal, but that's why it does definitely make sense. And I thought that this was overall just a really solid movie. And I think this movie has a very creative kills. And you see, like, basically it's all the same vendetta for everyone. Like, they were part of the angry mob, and like for this woman in particular, she like almost like trampled like his girlfriend, basically, who he was having an affair with. And the idea of like where he dumps her head in water and then puts her to like a freezing cold freezer, it's just horrifying because then you get stuck and you just see like the skin peel off and like the little things like that. It's just kind of horrifying to watch. Yeah, it's kind of disgusting, but it is pretty crazy. Like I said, I thought that honestly the most horrifying part was really just the beginning, just seeing this riot, because it just feels the most realistic. The idea of just everyone's just crowded and you're getting trampled because there's so many people. That was kind of honestly like I thought like the scariest part, but I still thoroughly enjoyed the rest of this movie. I thought that it was really fun. Yeah, even though our main characters aren't really super interesting, they serve their purpose. They all get tagged like at the beginning of the movie by this killer, and they serve their purpose. And they're kind of just there just to kind of solve the mystery, and they don't really have that much emotional depth, but they're fine. They're okay. And I will say, whenever the John Carver is on screen, it's just a lot of fun. He is very scary to watch, and it's just like I say, he is like the best part of this movie. Of course, I mean that's often the case in a lot of slasher movies. Is the killer themselves? They're very kind of. He's very scary with like the way the mask looks, and it's just very fun to watch. Just a really cool character, and he is very scary. So since I basically told you everything that happens, my main highlights of this movie were probably just the very creative kills, like with one woman almost being prepared like a Thanksgiving dinner with putting glazed on her before she's like put in an oven. Like, I mean, that part was just crazy brutal. It was insane. And yeah, this movie is very, very gory. It's very fun. And it's just a good time. Like I said, our main characters are Ryan, Jessica, Gabby, and Evan. There's not really that much to them. They're fine, but they definitely weren't the standouts of this movie. Even though like they're enjoyable, they're fun characters. They're kind of just there just to kind of solve this mystery because this whole movie, as well as being a horror, I'd say it's kind of like a mystery, like with these characters trying to figure out who it is because of course they're connected to it because they instigated the whole movie by getting in early, which made the killer, which caused the riots, which led to the death of the woman, which made the cop get mad. And they are very important. They're just not really they're not really that like interesting. But I will say like when they get killed, some of the kills in this movie like with like those little like ear things for the you use for a corn cob and then it's stabbed in her ears like almost that part was so gross. It was crazy. And it's just like so on you kind of know what's happening because that whole scene is done where you see her like clean out her ears and then you know something bad's gonna happen because they're focusing on the ears. I already knew it was coming, but it still kind of got me. It was good. So yeah, I thought that this movie did a very good job of just having some kind of schlocky slasher fun, and it's one of those movies where sometimes it's so over the top, you can't really take it so seriously, but it's a solid movie, and the characters are fun, the motivations work. I don't think that there's anything necessarily wrong with this movie, but I'm saying like it's not amazing. It is a good movie though. Definitely not the best horror movie of the year, but I would say maybe one of them, maybe, but it's a very solid movie. And I will say, I do think that some of them, they have, like, with the kills in this movie, with any good slasher, like, there are some kills that are very, very good. And then some of them just kind of seem generic. But I will say, when this movie does get creative with the kills, they really go for it. Like, I think the freezer, I thought that was done very well. But then when it's just, like, something like, trampled, it's not, like, super interesting. Oh, also, another really good standout kill is also the one with the dumpster, but that I can't even show on here. And if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Overall, I thought it was a really good movie. I had a fun time.